Currumbin Wildlife Hospital was actually created to care for the sick, injured and orphan native wildlife in the local area. And very quickly it has become one of the busiest wildlife hospitals in the entire planet. It treats, rehabilitates and releases over 12,000 native wildlife animals per year. I have goosebumps thinking about that because without Currumbin Wildlife Hospital, a lot of these little guys would be just left on the side of the road, like this wedge-tailed eagle that I can see in here. Now hopefully Dr. Pine won't mind if we come in. Hello Dr. Pine, are we allowed to come in?
Of course, yeah, no, it's quite okay.
Wow, this is a sight I honestly have never seen before. So can you tell us what's on the table? This is amazing.
So this is a female wedge-tailed eagle, and she's a wild bird that was hit by a car a few days ago and came into the wildlife hospital. And look, she is lucky. She's only been clipped by the car, battered and bruised, but no fractures. We've just done a whole series of x-rays, looking good, no fractures. But look, a bird like this will take quite a while to make a full recovery and get into that space where she's ready to be released.
Oh, she's just so beautiful. And what's her name?
This is Artemis.
Artemis.
So, yeah.
Wow, and she's the largest living bird of prey in Australia, is that right?
Oh, the white-bellied seagulls are a little bit bigger, but look,
wow.
these are a big bird, and she's a big girl. The girls are bigger than the boys, they're the bosses, so yeah, and she knows it. She's got a bit of attitude, which is great.
Well, I hope the person that brought this little guy in is watching, because thank you so much for saving Artemis's life. That is just such an awesome thing. So there are around 250 different species that enter through the hospital doors each year, and Dr. Pine, the senior vet here, greets each and every one of them. Why are all of these animals coming into your hospital in the first place?
Oh, look, like Artemis here, they're coming in because people are here, and almost all of the patients come in one way or the other through us causing problems. A lot are hit by cars, just like Artemis was here. A lot are attacked by our pet dogs, our pet cats. A lot of them, fly into windows, get caught on fences, barbed wires, awful stuff that catches a lot of animals out. Fishing lines, fishing hooks are a very common problem here on the Gold Coast. So, we owe it to our animals to be able to treat them and release them back into their homes.
So the goal here is really to treat, rehabilitate, and then as soon as possible get these guys back out into the wildlife. And I can only imagine how glorious this release will be.
Oh, look, it's the special moment when you're releasing animals back out into the wild, and certainly a big bird like Artemis, it is that special moment, when they take back to the skies. But even just releasing the small animals, again, it's special, and you can see these animals come to life when they get back to their home, and they truly are excited to get back where they belong.
And he'll have a lot of stories to tell. I can't believe he was hit by a car. I feel like he's almost as big as a car. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I hate to see the car.
Yeah, I know, me too. Yeah. And obviously there's so many different species. Any a little bit misunderstood, would you say?
Look, I think a lot of our wildlife, are misunderstood, but none more than flying foxes. They cop a really bad rap, but they're amazing animals. They've got true personalities to go with it, and they're such important animals ecologically. What you've got to remember with flying foxes is they pollinate the eucalyptus forests. So if we don't have flying foxes, eventually we won't have eucalyptus forests, and of course then we won't have koalas, along with a whole other big range of species that obviously live in the eucalyptus forest. So flying foxes are just that crucial part of the whole ecosystem.
Did you get that, guys? If there's no bats, there are no koalas, which I can't believe that fact is true. That is just so fascinating. And it comes back to the fact that it is an ecosystem and every little piece plays its part. And these guys, and Renee, the vet nurse, their job is really to just keep the ecosystem going. They don't want to really change it too much unless they have to. And I guess that brings us to the point of koalas. You see almost 600 every year. Why would you see so many when they're meant to be happy in nature?
Look, koalas are really struggling, and of course there's a lot of habitats being lost with our koalas. Unfortunately, people like to live in the same areas where koalas like to live, and so there's that conflict, that ever-going challenge with habitat. But on top of that, in this part of Australia, chlamydial disease is devastating our local koalas, and look, of the 600 koalas that came into the hospital, at least 60% of them came in because they were sick from chlamydia, and many of the others had subclinical chlamydia, that they were on the way to getting sick from chlamydia. So it's a huge problem that we've got to find a way to manage for koalas to be able to survive here.
Do you have any koala patients at the moment?
Look, we've always got koala patients, and look, we do have, you know, one of our typical chlamydial patients here, Panna, who's been with us for 3 weeks and got some really nasty conjunctivitis in her eyes, and that's very typical of chlamydial infection and what it does. So we can go and have a look at her.
Are we allowed?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Renee. Bye, Artemis.
Ta.
Stay well. Okay, so down here will be one of the little koala patients.
Yeah. This is Panna just here.
Oh wow!
So she's
Poor
under
little girl.
anaesthetic, and she's having a checkup today, and she's getting. She has a course of injections to get on top of the infection. But you know, we can have a close look, and we see how swollen her eyes are there, and that's after 3 weeks of actual treatment. So they're actually a lot worse than that originally. But it's on the improve now. Look, she's an older girl, but very special. She's actually got a little Joey in the pouch. It's only about
Joey.
3. Yeah, it's only about 3. It would have been born just before she came into the hospital here. So, so it's only about 3 weeks old. Yeah. So,
That just
despite
makes your work
yeah,
so much more important.
exactly. So everything, you know, despite all the problems she's had, she was still able to, you know, have a bub and come through. But look, this is a typical case that we see, and it's such a big problem with our local koalas and what's happening.
And I can't see, but can you see the little baby or
Really
hiding?
small.
Hiding?
So it's going to be really
Yeah.
difficult 'cause her pouch
Oh.
just
No.
hasn't quite opened
That's
up.
where the little.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, she really is tiny
Is
at
that
that
little
age.
jelly bean?
Absolutely.
Okay, because we've been
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about joeys
yeah,
all
yeah.
morning, so now you
Yeah.
guys finally get to see what it sort of looks like, early stages anyway. And you guys are doing such an incredible job. How much work goes into treating and then releasing these wild koalas?
Look, even a very simple case, and Panna here is, you know, certainly a tricky case. And look, it's, you know, probably she'll be with us for 3 or 4 months. It'll be quite a long recovery from this. But even a simple case, the best case scenario is about 5 weeks of treatment. So, and the costs really do add up. On average, it's $7,000 to treat a single koala. So when we're getting almost 600 of them, it really does add up over time.
Thank you to all of the community who keep this hospital running. It's amazing. And what is your dream for koalas?
Look, I guess for us to be able to have koalas around for the long term, we need to find a way to manage chlamydial disease. So we need to be getting in that space where we're preventing it, where we're vaccinating them against chlamydia, so that we can prevent this kind of disease, because treating it is tricky, treating it isn't easy, and it's far better to prevent, and you know, that's the space we need to be in.
And how can the people who are tuning in from all over the world, thank you for tuning in, how can they help make that dream come true for koalas?
Look, as with everything, you know, dollars count, and it's not cheap to be able to do this type of work, to be out there vaccinating a lot of koalas, and for people to jump online, donate to our Currumbin Wildlife Hospital Foundation website. Look, every dollar will go a long way to go towards not only treating these animals, but finding a way to prevent this type of disease.
And I know that the Currumbin Wildlife Hospital have set up a GoFundMe page as well. It's called Help Keep Our Doors Open to Save Wildlife. It's also in the Currumbin Wildlife Hospital Facebook and Instagram bio, so you can find it there if you feel empowered to help these guys with their very, very tough journey. It's really remarkable what you do, and we'll let you keep working, because I know Mama's got to go back out to her koala rehab soon. And do we have another? Oh, we have so many patients.
We've got a freshwater turtle here, and so this is Raphael, who's fractured the shell. And again, this is a turtle that was actually hit by a car. What a lot of people don't realise is turtles will cross roads, and they do get themselves into trouble. And the shell does a remarkable job at protecting the internal organs, but you know, you get nasty fractures. And what we've done here is actually, with wires, we've actually braced together all the fractures on the shell, and it will heal. The shell's a living structure. It's a bit like a bone, but it does take time. So we're talking 2 to 3 months for Raphael to make a full recovery here.
Wow, and I heard recently that the shells are actually, as you said, like bone, so it hurts when they break. So when they get hit by a car, they feel a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So thank you for, you know, giving them the pain medication that they need, and, you know, putting the putty on and connecting their shells. And they don't know this, but they look really cool as they're getting repaired. I think
Sure.
they have a bit of
Yeah.
style. So
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that'll be off by the time they're released, but it looks really cool. And I know everyone watching really want to know all of your facts. So I'm going to ask you 3 of
Sure.
your favourite wildlife
gosh.
facts. But first, I'm just going to answer a couple of questions that have come through. How long do koalas live for? There's a few people asking that. And I actually, what is the answer?
Look, in the wild where it's pretty tough out there, the best you're going to do is about 15 years, but most of them are struggling to get past 11 or 12 years old. Now, captive koalas, though, they've got a good life. They get everything brought to them, and look, they can live up until 20, and we do have a record of a koala living until 27 years old here in the sanctuary.
27 years old. Oh, that's incredible. And what sound does a koala make from June in the USA? They've put us on the spot here. I can't do the bellow.
I can't make the sound.
Okay, so
we need Sarah that we saw before to do the show. But look, they make a very deep grunting sound, and the males, when they do that over the breeding season, it's quite a frightening sound. A lot of people think it's a wild pig, something like that, and it is a frightening sound to hear if you don't know whether it's just a koala.
That's so fascinating. Okay, I'm going to hit you with those 3 facts. What are they? What's number 1?
Oh, interesting facts. Look, I do love that our Australian marsupials, they give birth to tiny little young, but what a lot of people don't know is our kangaroos, our macropods, they can actually pause their pregnancy. So Australia's this very tough country. We do get droughts, and so if times are really tough, they can actually pause the pregnancy, and then when times are good again, rains come and the grass grows back, then they can reactivate that pregnancy and give birth, and we're away again. It's a very unique thing that our kangaroos can do.
If only humans could do that. People would love that. That's so fascinating. And what's number 2?
Look, again, we've got egg-laying mammals, so echidnas and platypus are monotremes, so they're mammals that lay eggs, and that's very unique and very, very special. And you really have a mammal that's kind of half mammal, half reptile almost, and echidnas and platypus are just, they're very special because they're doing that. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the third one?
Oh, third, yes. Look, Peregrine Falcons hold a special place for me. They're incredible birds of prey, and these are birds that are flying at more than 300 kilometres an hour when they're doing their best. So they're the fastest animal on the planet. We do get quite a few of them come through our wildlife hospital here. We treat a high number of them, and it's a real pleasure to treat them, rehabilitate them, get their strength back, and release them back to the wild.
Well, they're really cool facts. We have so many questions coming in. We'll try and answer as many as we can. Catherine wants to know, do koalas have 2 thumbs?
Yes, they do have 2 thumbs, so it is right. They've kind of got a little grooming claw as well that they use to groom themselves and keep their fur really healthy and really happy. So, but there's many, many unique things about koalas, yeah.
I'm going to throw in a question here really quickly. What are the classic signs of chlamydia if people do see them in the wild?
Sure, well, the classic chlamydial symptoms are swollen eyes, so the conjunctiva get very swollen and sore, and as a result they end up blind almost. As we saw with Panna, the koala we just saw, she was struggling out there because she just couldn't see and wasn't able to get enough food. You do get another form where it gets into the urinary tract and affects the kidneys and the bladder, and that form's often a lot nastier, and they really do get very sick with that, and you tend to find there's a lot of urine leaking and staining, and it's not very pleasant, and they're the ones that we really worry about when they come into the hospital. And
so is research the only way forward?
Look, absolutely. We've got to find, better ways to treat them. They're tricky to treat, and they're always looking for better antibiotics or better ways to get on top of the infection. But I think more importantly, it's finding a way to prevent. Again, it's getting back to, vaccinating wild koalas, getting to that space where actually preventing the diseases in the first place.
Yeah, they deserve such happy lives. They're just so adorable. Okay, do we have any more questions? We have another one from Elizabeth. Thank you so much for tuning in. How can you tell a koala's age? That's a great question.
It is and there's a good answer to that, Elizabeth. So koalas' teeth wear down over their lifetime. So horses are very similar, and so what we find is their teeth wear, and we can quite accurately age themselves by looking at their teeth. But you do need to get them under anaesthetic to have a really close look at their molar teeth, and from that we can be quite accurate with what their age are.
Great. Okay, another question here from Daniel from Sweden. Hey Daniel, thank you so much. And also do let us know where you're from, because I think it's so cool that we can bring you our local wildlife all the way to the other side of the world. So the question is, what sort of patient has the highest admission rate?
Look, that's an easy question for us. Look, our hospital admits almost 12,000 animals a year, but many of those, in fact almost 2,000 of them are rainbow lorikeets. So they're a very brightly coloured parrot that are very common on the Gold Coast. They're an angry little parrot, and unfortunately they're suffering from I guess a disease that we're not quite sure what causes it, called lorikeet paralysis syndrome, where these lorikeets just lose the strength to be able to fly, and it may well be a virus causing it, or there could be a toxin. We're still, I guess, working to try and understand that, but yes, we get almost 2,000 rainbow lorikeets every year through the hospital.